listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. And I am excited today for my guest. I've been looking forward to this episode. I want you to meet Dr. Sharnael. And she is a captivating multidisciplinary expert who seamlessly blends naturopathic medicine, spirituality, and quantum science to empower individuals on their journey to wholeness. I can't wait to get into the quantum stuff. As the founder of True TV and author of 5 groundbreaking books, including her international best-selling book, The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love, Dr. Sharnael offers a unique perspective on achieving optimal health and unlocking human potential. Her global influence spans over 51 countries, where she shares her transformative insights through speaking engagements, online classes, and social media platforms. Welcome, Dr. Sharnael.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So first of all, give us your background, give us your story, and tell us how you got here. And then I've got 101 quantum questions. So let's hear about you first.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a convoluted sequence of events, just like everything else. But yeah, I came from like a really spiritual, kind of religious background. Didn't grow up in that, but kind of morphed into that in my teenage years, moving to the South, and then found myself really sick and traveling 17 years on 6 planes a week and working 100 and something hours a week and teaching into, big conference type things, retreats and different things, and was trying to reverse engineer that, finding no help at all in the Western areas of health, which, not anti-Western by any means, but just wasn't getting really good results with that, and mostly just being put on a lot of different medications, and at one point was on 33 different meds at a time, which was like super mental gymnastics, trying to figure out what to take when and how, and with this food and not with milk, and these to go together, and this is at night. And so yeah, I eventually was introduced to a doctor who is not just an MD, but actually an ND, and really loves things like neuroscience and spirituality and quantum physics. And he has a lot of biohacking type tools that I had never been introduced to, especially in the early 2000s. I think they're a lot more mainstream now, like red light therapy, ozone therapy, hyperbaric chamber, things like that. But back then, like, that was like, wow, what are these contraptions that this guy has, and yeah, I was able to reverse that. And then also led me to really, people were seeing me at these conferences, and I had dropped like 80 pounds, was feeling good. It happened in a very quick amount of time through frequency, and through releasing trauma in the body. And they wanted to know, like, how do they get help? And I didn't feel very equipped. I kept having reoccurring dreams about going back to school. I always thought I would go to school to get my doctorate, and that was the plan, but I thought it would be in more divinity or theology or something. And instead we went the other route, and I just kept getting all of this synchronicities and signs to go back and be a naturopath. And so I did that. And at the age of 37, as a single mom with 3 kids under 7 years old, that was fun. And then it kind of just morphed into, me teaching more on that into these arenas, and also opened up some other doors to other paths to speak outside of those arenas that I had been working with all those years. And I'm still teaching and traveling. A matter of fact, I leave for Bali on Sunday to go visit some farms over there for some research. And then I'm going to Sri Lanka in May, and Yeah. Yeah. So I love, research and traveling and teaching, but I also really love, the one-on-one aspect. I do have a practice here and see people in real life. I do a lot on remote. I have like 15,000 clients that I see all over the world that we do things through biofeedback and consultations and Zooms. And but that's kind of it in a nutshell. I just write books and do a podcast, and I love the energy of real life meetings, and I also love the one-on-one, but I also love this kind of platform where I don't have to leave my house or be on a plane, and we can talk to a lot of people and help a lot of people with just, a 30-minute session of
That is
talking.
true. That is very true. So tell me a little bit about trauma, what you know about trauma and the body, because I do a lot of performance coaching, I do a lot of psychology, we do a lot of trauma work. Talk to us about that because I think that is so important and very underdelivered in today's world.
Yeah, so we will defrag trauma and or stimuli in general. We're just bombarded by stimuli, especially now. I mean, with just everything that we're bombarded with. And from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., we tend to defrag all the things that are kind of really not important, like what color the shirt was of the lady who, checked you out at Walmart or whatever, or what music was playing in the background when you were on the airplane, or, things like that. Like, not necessarily really like life matters to keep that kind of information or data. What we tend to hold on to, or as are things that have a little more stick, things that may be a repetitive abuse or something really shocking, or something that maybe a coach or someone like that we look up to, an authority, a pastor, a parent, they do something that is, kind of horrific or, hurtful, or our perception of hurt. And that can maybe not really defrag during that time. And, or if we're not physically sleeping between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., we have a defrag issue. And so, and you can have a combination of those things too, where it's like a sudden thing from a coach and then it happens again, so what happens is that frontal lobe, behind that is your limbic system, which is like the seat of emotions, and it basically decides what you're going to keep and what you're not going to keep, and kind of, the librarian of all of that. And when we hold on to things, that limbic system will say like, yeah, maybe not tonight, we're going to defrag this, another time, but we're just going to shelf it like in the thyroid or the shoulder or wherever until she's ready or he's ready, and it'll stay there, and it could stay weeks, months, decades, forever. And a lot of times if we bump into something similar, we trigger, and it will cause that physical body part to have a signal or a symptom. And oftentimes we are trained that when we have those signals, we go to the doctor, and usually the doctor will give us meds to basically unplug the sound or unplug the noise or unplug the pain, so we're not having that pain anymore, instead of, hey, let's look at what this message is and see what is asking to be defragged. And so I had built up a lot of different traumas, and when I went to see this doctor, he did biofeedback and some other things with me and found 28 different traumas lodged in my body. And I didn't know a whole lot about conversion disorder at the time, or how the body will take on those things and how we can clear that. And so I started working with him, and I was using frequency and some other things to clear the trauma, and I went from 28 to 4 in 16 weeks. And simultaneously, when we let go of those attachments to the organs, we tend to lose weight as well. I was about 80 pounds heavier than I am, and like I literally changed nothing in my diet, and I dropped 80 pounds in 16 weeks. Because when we're in protection, as you know, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir with what you do, is we have a tendency to bulk up and try to protect ourselves with this like imaginary protection that's really can come in the form of fat or whatever, just like cats or dogs will get around other predators and they make themselves bigger. We tend to hold on and try to make ourselves so big that no one will hurt us. And it's just not real, but it's what we do. And when we let go of those insecurities or fears or made up perspectives or traumas, the conversion order, just like the contract ends and people just release weight like crazy. So I do, like I said, a lot of biofeedback and work in person and far away to kind of see what's really under the hood, what's going on here emotionally, how can we clear that. We use frequencies long distance to help the person, and or when I do the consultation, I can maybe pinpoint some things and go, you know what, as a naturopath, it might be good to ground, or it might be good to get in the sun, or it might be good to sleep earlier, or let's work on the adrenals, or let's work on the EMFs in the house, or whatever shows up on these reports. I like to look at it from my naturopathic view as well, on ways that we can like eliminate some of these things off the list, so the energies we do send with biofeedback can be more streamlined towards the things that aren't as easy to take off the list with just a simple vitamin D or sleeping better.
You just gave us like 200 knowledge nuggets in a matter of like 3 minutes. So, okay, let me ask you, how do you do this? So if we have a listener who's saying, oh, I have this pain in my knee, but I've been to the doctor and they said there's nothing wrong with me. So it's obviously somatic. It's obviously trauma from somewhere. How do you use biofeedback if you're in Louisiana and that person, say, is in Washington State? How does that work?
Yeah, I choose to know, honestly. I mean, we've been having this technology since the 40s. My dad actually worked on satellites in Montauk. If you've ever heard of like Stranger Things, and that kind of stuff is real. Maybe not exactly like the movie, but we do have technology that does voice to God tech, which makes you think that you're hearing something that's your voice or God's voice, and it's really not. And or the 5G is in effect. They're using it nefariously, and we can use things like that in a good way. When I was first introduced to the technology, I myself, with my left science brain, was like, whatever, this is ridiculous. There's no way. And my doctor is in a different state, and he had found this technology, and he's like, hey, can I try this on you? I just want to see, what you think. And the first time he used it, like I actually, let me back up. I said, sure. And I gave him permission. And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, hey, did you ever do that thing? And I kind of thought it was like I really didn't believe, and laughed it off. And he was like, oh gosh, I forgot. I'll get to it. I'm just got so much going on. I'll let you know. And one day I come home from work. I like walk in my living room. I sit down for a second, and I was just like, whoa, I feel like I just got instantly super tired, like pregnant tired. And I was like, I told my husband, I wonder if he's doing this. And I literally, no jokes, sleeping, like hard sleeping, sitting up with lights on in the middle of my living room, 5 kids in and out, dogs and cats, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon where, traffic from school, kids coming in. I never take naps during the day. I cannot sleep with lights on. I don't know what kind of psyche makes me not be able to, like a fear of missing out or something. I don't know, but conked out. And when I woke up that night, I grabbed my phone and I was like gonna ask him, did you do it? And he had texted me at 1:55 and said, hey, I'm about to do this. Completely knocked me out. The second time, same thing. It was 5 p.m. this time. And then the third time, I had integrated and moved out so much stagnant things within my field that it gave me the total opposite, where I was like cleaning up my garage, my cabinets. I was going through all my kids' clothes and getting rid of everything. I had 23 bags of things to bring to Goodwill that I had just like built up, that really I just didn't have the energy really to kind of do those things on my list. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I could do everything. I just feel like, yeah. So we have seen not only energy that happens and or sleep better, but we've also seen people who got partnership out of this, where there's been a block and they couldn't find their divine partner. And then all of a sudden it's like this guy who had been with them for 10 years, like finally made the commitment and asked them to marry him, or someone came out of the woodwork and could come in, and they were seen and they made a commitment to each other or started dating, or money that's been held up in some imaginary, not really imaginary vortex outside on this standing wave that's like keeping that out, all of a sudden just drops in. Job opportunities, all. So it's not just physical. I mean, your field is your field. And I have this saying that says you can't pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. Like, everything that we do changes everything that we do. And so we may start out thinking, hey, this is a health thing or a conversion disorder, but really it affects abundance. It affects job, purpose, money, mission, partnership, not just with man, wife kind of stuff or dating, but even like business partners and ideas and clarification. And I've had people who wrote books and got songs and, went and quit their job and did the last person. I get testimonies all the time, but this girl just texted me yesterday. She did one with me 4 weeks ago. She's dropped 44 pounds. She went back to school and she's changed her partnership completely. Like, she had been in this not great, kind of very not great relationship and just didn't have the willpower or the clarity to make the choices that she wanted to make that would get her on a different timeline. And I get this every single day. I mean, people just constantly are like, oh my God, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I love getting those emails of like, oh, I love that for you,
So tell our listeners what it looks like. So somebody comes to you and says, I want to try this process. What does that look like when they come to you and say, help?
Yes. So we use a combination of a lot of different technology. If you've heard of Royal Rife, he had the concept of understanding the frequency of every organ and, our field. We're 67 megahertz on a healthy adult day. We also use Evox, so we get a recording. We also take a picture of the aura because we have special software that can see what's going on in the field based on your radiation. Radiation that comes out is basically what we're thinking, what we're talking about, what we're feeling. And every organ and every cell has its own radiation. So we can even pick up genetics of things that, maybe grandma had this issue and it is still coming through, and we can clear that. So a lot of people think, oh, if grandma had it, I'm destined, cancel clear. No, you're not. We can clear that. And or it doesn't have to come to you. And I was, again, my left brain was like, how is this even, but after that happened to me, I was kind of like in my mind asking questions like, how does this even happen? And what's weird is I was in my Jeep and the satellite radio went out and 800 number pops up. And so I pull over, call the number, and some guy in India, and he's like, oh yeah, okay, turn the car off, do this, stay on the phone with me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now turn it back on. I'm going to ping this signal to you and it's going to be back. And sure enough, it was like back. And then I get home, my DirecTV goes out, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I call somebody in another country and they're like, oh, let me push a button. I'm going to send you this frequency and it's going to reset everything and it'll be on in like 20 minutes later. My DirecTV TV is on. So again, we've had this and we're using it all the time in different ways. Even what we're doing right here is streaming. Even when we pick up our phone and we're calling, it's like, well, there's waves that are going through to make this work. And we may not see that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so I will get a compilation of a few things. We take those things, we put it in the software. The software will create diagnostics of maybe 25 to 30 pages, hormones, emotions, chiropractic, major organs, vitamin deficiencies, sleep patterns, neurotransmitters, whatever, sensitivities to food, sensitivities to the environment. It'll show if you have parasites or mold or fungus, Lyme, pretty detailed, very, very accurate things. And then once we know what's going on, the software will create frequencies customized to those diagnostics, and then we send them back to that person. And I mean, I just did 11 people Saturday, and it was so funny. This girl was waiting in line, and the emotion that came up, the top three were like bored, apathetic, jealous, because she was like waiting to do her scan. She's like, oh my God, can we get this done? And then another person had just pumped gas and it showed up, gasoline fumes. Another person was painting her bathroom and it showed up paint fumes. And all these people are like, oh my God, like this is so accurate. But yeah, so it's pretty cool how technology can really serve us when we let it. And, of course there's nefarious, but we're using it in a helpful way.
I love how you explain that because I talk to clients a lot. I'm trained in the Jose Silva method.
Oh
So,
yeah, I love that.
yeah,
I love
I've
that.
done all the courses and the mastery and I love it. And I talk to clients all the time. And I as I'm explaining it, it's like it kind of goes over their head. So I love that explanation of, hey, my satellite went out. I make a phone call and boom, hey, my radio's back on. Hey, my TV went out. I make a phone call and boom, it's back on. That is such a good analogy for rebooting the human body. So I am going to steal that from you because I love it because it's such an easy way to explain how we do things that they can't see. They trust that, my cell phone is going to work off a signal, but yet my body, which is full of electricity and full of water, which is a conductor, doesn't work that way. So I always find it fascinating when people challenge that thought process. So that's great. I'm going to steal that.
Well, and you're energetic and so am I. So we have the capability of passing that on even through the waves and through our field. Like it's very transferable. And I love Silva. I've studied and have certification as well. And it's anyone who's interested, that's a great path. That guy is amazing and he really brought a lot to humanity with his services and modalities.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. To look and see like all the people that are using this, like Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins, and they're using it, and people are like, I don't know why I'm drawn to him, and I'm like, well, it's energy. They're harnessing the energy. You're being drawn to their energetic field. If they're positive, you're going to be drawn to it. If you're a negative person, you're going to be drawn to a negative person, and it's just basic, electricity 101.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, in addition to this work, how do you so now you have like a diagnostic blueprint. How do you help somebody heal their body? What does that look like?
Yeah, a lot of it is conversion disorder. I mean, I would say 86% of most physical issues are emotional. So if we can clear the emotions, and like I said, I went from 28, well, I don't know if I mentioned it. I went from 28 traumas, and when I retested, I only had 4. And that's what, I got off all my meds, dropped 80 pounds, had a whole different life after that. And, I'm not going to say I haven't picked up a couple along the way, and also, always doing the inner work to make sure nothing sticks. But yeah, I just, we work with people on the physical because, just like we can energetically work on the emotions or on the field, we can hone in on physical things with the body, like just by sending like Rife, with Rife, we have certain frequencies per organ. And if let's say it's too high, then we want to bring in something low to alchemize it. If something's really low, we want to bring something high to alchemize it. And grounding and water are very important too. I always tell people when you get your scan, make sure to drink a lot of water, stay grounded as possible, because that'll be a great way to anchor in the frequencies that we're sending. It is a good idea too to get some back-to-back, actual real biofeedback. When I say real, like in the beginning genesis of biofeedback, you were literally hooked up to wires and you had to sit there and there was no diagnostics at all. It was pretty much, I mean, I did that. Not to other people, but I was on the receiving end. And I'd always, me being a teacher and me being the way I work, I was like, what are they doing? And how is this, like, I don't know what's happening. And just like kind of, okay, I'll see you next week. And then you come, I want to know why, like what's happening. So this software, what I love is not only can I do it remote, and I have people in Australia, Montana, England that I help on a regular, but it does give the diagnostics. So I can look at things from a naturopathic point of view. And like I said, I could be like, you know what, you might want to consider this, or this. And, my grandmother, who's just passed actually, but when she was in Montana, they couldn't figure out something. She had fallen a couple times and the doctors were just scratching their head. And I'm like, send me over her stuff. She was dehydrated and had a UTI. And so I sent that over to the doctors. The doctor's like, oh my God, how'd you know that? I'm like, we have the technology. I had my co-host for my podcast lives in England and he had a shoulder issue and I hooked him up and immediately he felt better. I had a patient that come in, so I needed to get him off of the software and get her on and transferred it. And immediately I get a WhatsApp app, message, and he's like, "Hey, did you stop it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I had to stop it for a minute because I'm working on someone else." He's like, "Okay, tell me when, get it back on as soon as possible." I could definitely feel it. The lady that I was working with right before I got on here with you, she had like major chronic back stuff, and it'll show chiropractic, and we're already seeing things line back up. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, the pain is gone. I have been 2 weeks pain free." So when we do most people who do actual, real biofeedback without the naturopathic part, you will have to get like 10 to 20 scans because you're completely relying on entrainment to the field to do all the work. And it takes you doing one every 2 weeks or so to piggyback off the frequencies, to recalculate and see where you are now, and then send more and just keep that going without any physical changes whatsoever. But if I'm looking at it, at the reports, and I can say, "Hey, do this, do this, do this," we can bring that 20 to maybe 6 scans instead of 20 scans, or 3 scans instead of 10 scans, or maybe you only need 2 scans because you're implementing some things into your own daily practice, and you're more aware of, like, once you kill parasites, then you just don't eat sushi anymore, and you kind of maybe do a cleanse every now and then. But before that, you may not have known, like, oh, this is the cause of all these things, so there's that. But and let me tell you something about parasites and mold. They put out their own frequency and their own consciousness, and that could cause someone to feel crazy, to hear voices, to be very convoluted and confused, to not be able to make decisions. And we do these monthly parasite cleanses. It's a free group monthly thing, and I was doing like exit questions to see like what was going on, in your physical and your mental and your sleep, and just kind of have a trail of data on a certain case study I was working on. And what I was seeing that I never thought I would see is people were saying, "Oh my gosh, that narcissistic boyfriend quit calling me," or the bully at work has completely left me alone, or the money came through that my sister owed me for 10 years, and she's just like, "Oh, here's your check," whatever. And it's like, I wasn't, again, at that time, wasn't really computing that everything works together. But when we remove the equation of you're a good host and you're someone that someone can take advantage of, because that's what parasites do physically. They steal your nutrients. They're harvesting your energy, not you, but a person's energy, and taking away nutrition and basically living rent free. And when we kill that, clear it out, make sure it's not stuck in the lymphatic system, and have a different equation that's going out into the field, then you're only going to get a match to that, and you're going to start attracting people who are giving, and there's that equal partnership instead of the take. And you're finding more opportunities where people are truly coming to you in partnership, whether it's work or dating or actual love or kids. They're not bullying you and yelling at you and being smart ass and all that stuff. It's like that equation's gone, and now we only have good things coming in.
That's fascinating. So, wow, there's so many things. I could talk to you all day about this. I love this stuff. So what I heard for our listeners are, if you're in a bad relationship or a bad work environment and it keeps continually happening, there's a high probability that you have probably parasites. And this is an easy solve, as opposed to, how do I deal with my narcissistic husband and how do I stay in this relationship? So I love this. So how do people find you? And we're going to put this all in the show notes. Like, where are you? How can they find your groups, your books, things like that?
Yes, Dr. Sharnael. It's Dr. Like just the Dr, not the spelled out doctor, but DrSharnael, Sharnael, Nael like Israel.com. I have my workshops, my podcasts. I do soul audits, and I do the biofeedback. What else? I have workshops and certifications and all kinds of fun things. As a matter of fact, if you go to my website right now, I just uploaded a class that's free to clear trauma. If those of you who are interested in learning how to do that at home, if you just go to the website, there should be a pop-up, if technology is working, that comes up, and you just give your email and it'll automatically send it to you. But yeah, I'd love to help you guys get out of any ruts or energetic purgatory and help you get on a higher, more fun, easy timeline, and maybe see some clarity in your mission and what you're doing and why you're here. Because I mean, all of us are so different, and we need each other. We need the diversity. We need, my gifting is different from yours and vice versa, and like we can all work together in this beautiful tapestry. But if we are sick or stuck or in pain and not feeling well, you could have all the prophecy and dreams and all of that in the world, but if you don't feel good to really step out and take that in action, then we're kind of in a defeated process. And so I really want to empower people to get their life back, literally.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been a great guest, and I'm going to put this all in the show notes, and we'll make sure we pass it around and get it out there.
Thank you so much.
And you have been listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Give us a like and a follow, and listen in for the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.